Globally acclaimed music legend Femi Kuti has long been one of the leading lights of Afrobeat. The eldest son of Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti, just like his father, Femi is also committed to social justice and human rights. Starting his musical career at the age of 15 in his father's band, then later starting his own band Positive Force in 1986. Femi Kuti has earned his stripes while winning several awards and gathering 6 Grammy nominations along the way. Well, in this week's program, we talk to Femi Kuti about the rise of Afrobeats, what it was like growing up with father Fela Kuti, and what he is most proud of. We will also touch on the Grammys and so much more. I'm Beatrice Marshall. Welcome to Talk Africa. Well, joining me now is music legend Femi Kuti, joining us via Zoom. It's such a pleasure to have you on the program with us, Femi. Now, you are a living icon, a music legend, and the reigning king of Afrobeat. When you first burst onto the music scene in your band Positive Force, it will say that your style was intentionally faster than traditional Afrobeat. How has your musical style evolved over the years?
I just go by feel. I go by what I feel, my enthusiasm, and what I want to, how I feel, and how I want my music to sound. So at the beginning, it was a deliberate effort to not sound like my father. And when I found my footing, I'm like gliding now. I just go with how the feeling takes me.
So what is the difference between Afrobeat and Afrobeats?
There's a big, massive difference between the Afrobeats and the Afrobeats. You see, like hip hop started because a lot of producers of the hip hop were influenced by my father. The Afrobeats is a genre of music that is influenced again by the Afrobeats, but it's very far from being the same. They just take a few beats from the Afrobeat. And I think they were looking for a name. And the best name I think some of them came up with was maybe they wanted to be, they wanted to show that they were influenced by my father a lot. And so they named it Afrobeats, but the distinctions are not similar at all. African music will always evolve. And so, but I think the foundation of the Afrobeat my father has set, I would really love people to distinguish the difference, because when you go back to my father's back catalog and listen to how his music evolved, and when you listen to me and how it has evolved, what young boys and girls are doing today is more of dance. You see, I don't want to dissect that music too much because sometimes it might seem being overcritical, because I like what they're doing. But there is, like I said before, a big distinction between the Afrobeats of what is so popular today from what my father started, my father's kind of Afrobeat, which I grew up mastering, studying, and interpreting in my own way. A good example I will give you is my father's music is very militant. So when you hear the horn section coming, for instance, it's like a big message. It's like he was like a warrior. Now he uses music to fight for change. And so, I mean, the deeper you listen to my father, you will see. You put me in a spot because I don't want to dissect this music, because it will seem like I'm critical and discouraging, which is not my purpose, because like I said, I like what they're doing. Many of them are good friends of mine. They're like I'm much older than them, but we're like a big family. I know most of them, and I like what they're doing. It's just that it's different from what I am doing, what my father did. But yes, there's a track, Sorry Sorry, or Truth Don't Die of mine, the album Shoki Shoki, which showed the possibility of using technology in the Afrobeat. And a lot of them have taken from this Shoki Shoki album to enhance the Afrobeats and my father's music as well. So with this said, I just want you to understand the difference is there's a lot of difference, but I do like what they're doing.
Now, unity and positivity in the face of widespread corruption and oppression continues to be the key message of your music, which is the same case on your latest 10th studio album, Stop the Hate. How has your music made an impact, and what part are you most proud of?
I just came back from a 16-date, 3-week tour of Europe. I'm still filling clubs. I'm still playing big festivals. I'm going to be 60 this year. I've been performing now for 43 years. To last this amount of time with the energy I put into my music I was telling my son the other day to take a band from Africa, a 13-piece band, and take it out of Africa for the past 3 decades now. This is a big challenge. So I think I still inspire a lot of people. A lot of young musicians still tell me I inspire them. A lot of foreigners or people outside Nigeria tell me they have been influenced greatly by my music. So I think my music is still relevant. I don't want to use the Grammys as a stepping stone, but the Grammys is one of the largest, if not the largest, awards ceremony in the business. The last album was nominated for the Grammys. So this shows the impact of my career or my music. I think one of the greatest things, if not the greatest things I've done, is keeping my band together and grooming my son to take over the legacy, to continue the legacy. I think to see my son perform, to see him master all the instruments and play all the instruments on his album, this is fabulous. This is unheard for. Many musicians can't play every single instrument. I mean, he worked so hard to produce that album. And I think to see, as a father, to see he listened to me, to see he was inspired by me, I would say probably this is my greatest achievement, because this brings a lot of joy to my heart.
And when we look at it this way, Femi, one of your previous albums, One People, One World, has a distinctly more positive tone. On the same album, you sing about corruption, equal opportunity, democracy, evil people. What other global or African issues are keeping you awake at night?
Hate, racism, climate change, wars, unfairness. I'll give you a typical example. As a Nigerian with my passport, it's so difficult to get a visa to South Africa on my continent. With my British passport, I can walk into South Africa and I'm given a visa for 3 months. When I see the war in Iraq, Syria, when I see what's going on in Congo, Ethiopia, I'm very hurt that 2022, we're still talking about war. When we hear about bombs still in Ukraine, I mean, we are talking about climate change. And when world leaders should be sitting down to address this very serious issue, they tell us it's very serious, and they're all still throwing bombs and fighting wars. I mean, this is worrisome. I mean, they are supposed to be the ones leading. They should be in the forefront, promoting peace, unity, justice, but they are the problematic nations causing all the problems that propaganda tells us we should not be doing. This keeps me awake at night that, wow, what's the United Nations there for? I mean, these are organizations that now seem to be just toothless bulldogs. They're just there for fashion.
So let's switch gears and get to know Femi the man. Nowadays, a lot of people refer to you as the king of Afrobeat. And, well, the king had a father. He's not here with us, but Fela is here through you and his music. What was it like growing up as the heir to a living legend?
It's very hard for people to believe the trauma I went through as a child. But I like to use my children as an example. When they look at me and I tell them the stories, they always tell me that, Daddy, you are traumatized. You are a traumatized child. You grew up, because people think, because my father was so huge, people think I had a very easy life. Oh, he was rich. But even if you just look at it politically, imagine every time coming home, you never knew if your father was dead because of a police raid, going to school, picking fights because some students of rich families didn't like your parents, or the teacher didn't like your father, and getting flogged every day because you are trying to understand the academics of school and nobody gave you a chance. And because, my father was huge. And, I could just go on and on about, but Kalakuta was a very big party. Kalakuta was about 150 people staying there, and it was fun to be there as a child. And so that was a good side. But my father wasn't the conventional father. He didn't care about education. I would get to school, and my friends friends that I had, would be like, wow, they got flogged by their parents, and they will improve. And I always deteriorated in class. I always did badly. I failed every subject except English and maths. English and art. And I passed English because my mother was well spoken, probably. And but every other subject, I did so badly. And school was a nightmare. I didn't want to go to school. And it was a general knowledge amongst my peers that I would end up really on the wrong side of life. And so it amazes me with the popularity. I know I am blessed in the sense that I think there's a guardian angel that has looked after me all my life. And because when I look back, I know I've done a lot of hard work, but I still think there's some kind of spiritual force that has still helped me and kept me sane and kept me kept me motivated. Oh, the love of my children, of course. I have a very lovely family. They keep me wanting to be alive, to keep on propelling myself forward. But I think I know some force must be behind my life, because when I look at how chaotic my life was as a youngster, as a teenager, I was driving a car on the road at 12. That's the kind of freedom I had. 12 years driving a car. When I see my 12-year-old children, I can't imagine what was going through my father said to let me drive a car. The freedom I was given, I think it was just, I wouldn't give my children that kind of freedom. I think, I wouldn't say he didn't love me. I'm just saying his way was so weird to fit into conventional life as we know it should be. So my children I try to put a bit of discipline in our lives here. I won't let them drive a car at 12, for instance. I'm very protective of my children.
All right, Femi, we'll continue with this discussion in a moment. On that note, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Femi Kuti. Welcome back to Talk Africa. Still joining me is Afrobeat legend Femi Kuti. Now, Femi, you have had a sterling career. You have performed all over the world, but we all know your favorite place is the Shrine. Why is this place so special to you?
Because it's a spiritual place. It's a place that pays homage to great African people that have fought for the emancipation of Africa, for peace, for justice, for unity. And there is no place like that on the face of this earth. So that's why it's so important for me. So it's a shrine, it's a sacred place that pays homage to all these great people, people that we don't even know their name. That's why it's sacred. And Muhammad Ali, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, James Brown, anybody who has fought for righteousness for the human being. We pay homage to them, first and foremost, and we play music.
Now, Femi, you know, Fela was renowned for his eccentric character, musical talent, and involvement in post-colonial African politics. You too have made commitments to social and political causes throughout your career. Is this what majorly inspires your music?
I would say a lot of everything about my past, definitely. Everything about my past. I mean, I remember Nigeria in 65, 66, the Civil War, coming out of the Civil War. I remember how Nigeria just deteriorated so badly. So I remember my father's fight. I remember him being beaten. I remember I sometimes even still have nightmares of the beatings he went through. I'm still living in the past, and there's a police raid descending on my father's house, probably killing him or breaking all his bones, blood. So this has really affected who I am. When I still see how bad Nigeria and Africa are, this is so sad. When I see the Congo, Somalia, Ethiopia, I mean, then when you read books on Patrice Lumumba, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, people who have lost their lives fighting for the emancipation of Africa, and things still seem to be getting worse off. When you hear and read books of true evidence of America and Europe playing a role in destroying this continent of Africa, and then you just wonder, then when does it stop? Like I said, I read a lot of books, and growing up in such a political home, I had to come up with answers that, but then why are we like this? Why? So you have to understand time of 400 years of slavery, the injustice that happened on this continent, the cries, the wars. I mean, we're not going to get out of this in 50 years. It's not possible. 100 years of colonial rule, bad African, corrupt, wicked, evil governments. I mean, it's going to take us probably another 100 years or 200 years to come out. So I'm not one that fantasizes that, hey, in my lifetime, Africa is going to be free. But I appreciate all the great fighters who have fought for the emancipation of Africa. And I'm just playing my little bit. And I'm hoping that even if I influence my children, this is a very big step forward for Africa. But I'm not going to daydream and think this year Africa is going to come out of its problems. So, and that colonial system of education is still the same format of education that my father was so much against, that I have understood now in our schools that we force our children to go through, that don't even make us, even we are patriotic the patriotism we have in our classrooms are fake, because we come out of school and we're not really patriotic. We come out of our lives, we're not really patriotic. Let's even go to something very simple. Most African people are supporting Manchester United, Arsenal, name the team in Europe, 6,000 miles away from our continent. And we don't even care about our football teams. When I was growing up, we were supporting ICC, Rangers, Bendel Insurance. We used to go to the stadium to watch our teams here. We knew our footballers. Now, if the national team was playing, it's even so difficult to fill the stadium. It's so difficult if Barcelona and Madrid were playing, I'm sure if we calculated the views from Africa, more people would be watching that than their national team playing on that day. Our concern should be Africa.
All right. Well, the Grammys have come and gone again. 6 times you've been nominated. Fight to Win, Africa for Africans, No Place for My Dream. What are your reflections on these great works? Does it really matter that these works did not win a Grammy?
You know, I will never win the Grammy because I will never go according to their rules. So I probably will get nominated every time. You see, the rules are, they put it there, you must do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. I'm producing music for my environment. My music is my attitude towards life, my feeling, my vibes. So the Grammys are telling you what your vibe should be. And if your vibes are not like this, and those things they say I must do at the end to win, I will never do. So the first time I went to the Grammys, when I saw this, I completely, I didn't want to ever participate anymore. But my labels always put my albums for nominations. So every time they nominate me, people around me will open a bottle of champagne. Oh, you are nominated, but I take my mind off. This last album, I was happy it was put because of my son. I wanted to know and be sure that a body like the Grammys are taking notice of what he's doing. So when it was nominated, I was happy. I said, oh, so they still notice what we are doing. Okay, let's drink the champagne, forget about the win. And that's what we did. I didn't believe it would win or anything because, like I said, you have to play the game. I'm not ready to play that game. I think the way I'm talking to you, you will understand. My problem is bigger than the Grammys. I have no electricity right now where I'm talking to you. The roads outside my house are bad. They have been bad for 20 years. Outside my doorstep is poverty beyond you are in Kenya, so I won't say beyond your imagination. If I won the Grammy or I win the Grammy, of what benefit will that be to the problems I've told you? Absolutely nothing. Then people will just get excited. My fan base will make a lot of noise. Hey, Femi has won the Grammy. But the deeper I think, really, it's not football. It's not the Champions League where you just take a bunch of musicians, put them into a group of 5, who's going to win? And then some people at the back somewhere are going to now decide who's going to win. What laws it's not competitive laws of I can go there and challenge and speak my mind and tell you why my music is my way, my music is, if the Grammys were like that, where each composer comes up and starts to say, how did you come about this music? And let the world vote and see the enthusiasm of the composer, of the musician, like football, then it makes sense. But where some group of people will just sit down somewhere and now decide you are the winner on their own terms. So for Merry, Merry, Jolly, 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 yes, I think the Grammys are exciting. People will win, celebrate. Do you know how many people have won the Grammy? There must be about over 2,000 by now. We will even lose the names of many of them. Let me give you an example, and last example on the Grammys, please. My son wrote every track on his album. He played every single instrument on that album. How did he not win? Forget about me at my age. But so I just tell him, they have recognized you. Continue, move forward. Keep inspiring another generation. Keep moving. If you think about this group of people in this little box, you will be stuck there forever. Move, see the world, see planets, see the beauty of life. Not where one person or a group of people will now tell you you are worthy of this award. African music, Africa will always dominate the world, whether we like it or not, because Africa is the center of inspiration in this sense. So Africans will always contribute to jazz, rock, funk, hip hop, Afrobeats, music from Cameroon. Look, this continent is, so let me give you, somebody came to me to say they want an award for African music. And I said, it would be very wrong to just put Africa in one box, because in Nigeria, where we come from, we have high life, Juju, Akbala, Fuji, Afrobeats, so many genres of music that you cannot just put us in one box. It's not possible. That's why when we have our own awards in Nigeria, you have the Afrobeats awards, you have the Juju awards. You can't just put everybody and just say, you're all one kind of music. We have different interpretations of how we think music should be or how we want people to perceive music.
And just before I let you go, Femi, what is the legacy of the Kuti family?
What is the legacy of the Kuti family? That's too hard a question. I could say integrity, I could say music, fairness, and righteousness, all those good things. I mean, the family, Kuti family is, there's so many things we are all vast at. And I think, let me just summarize it and just say love. I would say love because love entails integrity of all these things, of how to be nice, polite. Of course, we have our mistakes. I will never tell you I'm perfect. I'm quite popular, but when I'm with the family, nobody cares about my popularity. I don't care about my popularity. I'm not, when you keep saying king, you know, I was brought up to not listen to that word because you get carried away with all this, that's my dad, yeah. My mother will install, what king? So better put your feet on the ground, you know. So those things don't treat me. You know, they stopped treating me a long time ago. And as I told you, my father was huge. I had to start from scratch. Nobody gave me any form of opportunity to be successful as an artist. I'm saying nobody. The only person that believed in me was my mother, my maternal grandmother, and my two sisters. And they supported me till now. And everybody else was, how are you going to make it? Fela's son, do you know how huge? They were trying to educate me how huge my father was, as if I'm stupid, you know. And I was saying, but I just love music. I was a little boy who wanted to play music, who adored his father, who loved his father, and the environment never gave me the chance to be successful. And slowly, hard work, which I still try to do a minimum of 6 hours every day, mastering my instrument, knowing fully well I probably will not even be satisfied till I die, because I know that there is so much to learn as a musician. You learn every day. And the older you get, the more difficult it is for your fingers to move as fast or as flexible as you want them to move. So you have to keep on working. That is the art. That is true musicianship. And so I learned this on my own by struggling, by touring. And again, France gave me the first opportunity where my country, Nigeria, didn't want to listen to me. And when I had my first hit in Nigeria, wonder, everybody, most the press, there was no social media to even tell them the truth or argue with them. The press was, everybody was, oh, it was his father. And it was so difficult to change the narrative. Luckily, there's social media. One of the good points of social media where you see something wrong about what they have said about you, you can correct. But then your life was in the hands of the major papers, and they could say anything about you. They could make or destroy you. And a lot of them, 90% of the journalists at that time, took it upon themselves to not give me the chance to be successful. So I had to battle my way to the front of the pack to be. So you don't hear me boast, because I know I have my own understanding and attitude of what musicianship should be.
Femi, what a fantastic and interesting conversation there. Thank you so very much indeed. Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of Talk Africa. A big thank you to our special guest, music legend Femi Kuti. Remember, you can be a part of this conversation through our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter. And you can watch this and other editions of Talk Africa on our YouTube playlist. To join us again next week for more Talk Africa. For me, Beatrice Marshall, and the team here in Nairobi, until next time, bye-bye.